Momentum. 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 Moments, moments, moments in time, in time, in time. It's incredible how quickly time can slip through your fingers, like a mouse that you barely glimpse from the corner of your eye, scurrying into a crack in the wall. Nearly a month has passed since I made my debut here at YouTube. 1 month. 1 lunation. That seems fitting, although it has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on how frequently I'll be posting here in the future.
Schedules simply do not spark joy from my inner Sagittarian.
So anyway, for this second transmission, I initially considered dancing with the question of, what exactly is Namasaneam? What's with the name? What's it all about? And what are my vision and intentions for this space? Now, rest assured, that piece will definitely be coming soon. But for now, I felt more compelled to delve deeper into the question of why. Why am I doing this? Why did I decide to start a YouTube channel? Aside from the fact that everybody and their mama seems to have one. And so I'm going to give you 9 reasons. Or, more poetically speaking, let's explore 9 regions of thought and feeling that brought me here, that led me here, that lured me here. And by the end of that exploration, hopefully you will be compelled to not only continue on this path with me, but to either begin or expand the scope of your own creative healing journey. Because creativity and healing are 2 of humanity's greatest superpowers, and it would be a real tragedy to let them go to waste. Also, in case you didn't realize it, no one else is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. Alors, allons-y, mon ami. La vie nous attend. Number 1, marinating. First and foremost, I've been flirting with the idea of starting a YouTube channel for a very long time. At least a few years, probably longer. But honestly, that's also just sort of my MO when it comes to doing something that feels big. I think about it, sometimes hashing out pages of detailed plans. Or else I toggle between acutely obsessing over it and completely forgetting about it. So, for instance, getting my nose pierced, getting my triple moon tattoo, getting my hair locked. For every single one of those things that I wholeheartedly wanted to do, it took at least 2 years for me to finally pull the trigger. Now granted, those particular decisions all had more semi-permanent physical ramifications, but still, potato, potato. Launching a creative project publicly is a major move, and it can have a similarly significant effect on how you see yourself, how you organize your life, how your energy flows, and how you show up in the world. But wait. I'm also getting ahead of myself a little bit. So let's rewind. The point I want to make here is that this idea took up residence in my consciousness and refused to leave. When a desire clings to you like that, or keeps circling back again and again, unless it's dangerous or harmful, of course, that's a sign worth following. That thing seeking you is something your heart and soul are also seeking, craving, calling for. It's magnetic. Ooh, another delicious M word. And after so long marinating, you've got to get cooking, baby. What you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Number 2, magic. Do the thing that scares you. Feel the fear and do it anyway. The magic happens outside of your comfort zone. We have all heard these sayings, but how often do we actually live by them? When's the last time you broke out of your usual familiar routine and did something exhilaratingly terrifying? Personally, I can't even answer that question because I don't remember. But what I do remember is the dizzying carousel of concerns that winds up whenever I think about venturing out into uncharted territory. What if I fall? What if I fail? What if I make a fool of myself? What if I fall? What if I fail? What if I make a fool of myself? What if I fall? What if I fail? What if I make a fool of myself? Fear? Fear is a frickin' master of persuasion. And yet, I kind of can't blame the nervous system for doing its job of trying to keep us safe. Still, sometimes it goes into overdrive, and instead of warm, cozy, comfortable, it ends up keeping us stuck, stagnant, paralyzed, effectively dead inside. Oh non, ma chère, tu dois vivre. While the prospect of having my own YouTube channel was captivating, I found myself repeatedly hitting that brick wall of resistance. Because although I had already put myself out there, so to speak, online through various blogs for well over a decade, this medium would open me up, potentially, to a different degree of exposure. And judgment, and scrutiny, and rejection? Ah!
Danger, 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 danger.
But hold on a minute. Faced with the darkness of the unknown, why do we tend to populate it with the most vile monsters? Psst. Worry, my dear, is a misuse of imagination. Yeah, exactly. And even if I can't help anticipating the worst, why not entertain some pleasant possibilities too? I mean, what if it's fun? What if it grants me a new kind of freedom of expression and connection and expansion? What if farfalle? By which I do not mean bow tie pasta, silly, but butterflies, like those flutters of excitement in your belly when you see your crush, like the delicate majesty of a blue morpho floating through the rainforest, like metamorphosis and flight and light and beauty and wait. I'm getting ahead of myself again. The point I want to make here is that I'm not letting fear hold me back anymore. FDR said, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than fear." Well, sir, my assessment says that magic is one of those more important things. Magic as a means and an end, wholly justified unto itself. Magic, not sleight of hand, but as the witches understand it, creating change in accordance with will. And also as children understand it, being the little masters of wonder and awe that they are. Magic. You seldom find it in the bubble of what you've always known and done. The magic of learning, growing, becoming more is hidden in the places your fear deemed forbidden. Magic is waiting in the wings, waiting for you to dare. Number 3, mouth. One night, I went out to a restaurant, or a bar, or some such place, with a handful of people. Only one of them, let's call her Alice, was really my friend in the true sense of the word. The others more so her friends, acquaintances to me, but no less friendly. And so we gathered in around a table, maybe close, maybe loose, who cared, in that fuss-free, non-committal way college kids do. And there everybody was, chopping it up, super chill, but with that kinetic fire of familiarity, shared histories, personalities in sweet harmony. Was I uncomfortable? Maybe, but only a little. I liked being with people. I just seemed to have a hard time navigating group conversations, like what to say, when to jump in, who to look at, what to do with my hands, etc., etc. Ugh, too much to figure out. Easier to just stay silent. Attentive, genuinely interested, contributing nods or smiles or laughter whenever appropriate. Yes, all of those things. But speaking? Shh. Everyone was usually too busy to notice anyway. Except for that moment when my dear friend Alice turned to me. Eyes locked into mine, and so stark yet sincere in her lament, she said, "I wish you talked more." I don't remember now how I responded, only that those 5 words were forever burned into my brain. If you know me, IRL, you know that I'm not much of a talker, more of a listener, observer, receptor. If you've known me a long time, you also already know that writing is my native creative genius, and that I've been crafting all sorts of word salads and soups and stews on paper since I was 6, 7. So it tracks that journaling in particular has been a keystone throughout my life. A largely private affair, a mixture of self-excavation, revelation, creation, and preservation. Ah, see? The poet in me never sleeps. Until 2005, when I published my first blog on a little old website called MySpace. Hello world, welcome to me. Because I wasn't very forthcoming face to face. I'm still not. If I were a scripted character, you'd find me playing a supportive role as the nice, smart, quiet girl. Reading my words was therefore the best, if not the only way to get to know me on a more than casual basis. And anyone who took the time to do that, from those earliest teenage angst-ridden posts to any of the multiple more mature blogs that emerged throughout the subsequent 15 years, oh, you, darling you, thank you. Thank you for bearing witness and holding that space for me. Thank you for affirming that my insides and my insights are valuable. Thank you for helping to keep me committed to using my creative powers and this technology for the sake of connection and inspiration above all else. Inspire. To fill someone with the urge or ability to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. Inspire. To breathe in air, to inhale. I have to admit though, after weaving so many textual tapestries into the World Wide Web, I lost the spark. Something in me was yearning for a different way. More direct, more visceral, more moving, kind of like music. Which you'd think would steer me in the direction of a platform like SoundCloud or Spotify.
Oh yeah, why don't you start a podcast?
And I did consider that. But nothing clawed at me as persistently as this YouTube idea. So here I am. I'm shifting my expression from the static page to the electrophonic stage, letting my mouth do the storytelling, maybe even some singing. Using and fine-tuning the instruments of my voice to realize its full power. I'm inviting you not to read my lines or even my lips, but to rest your eyes and just listen, receive, and use whatever resonance you find as fuel for your own breakthroughs. Let these lyrical frequencies flow from heart to heart, home of the unstruck sound. Anahata nada, anahata nada, anahata nada. You can dance if you want to. Number 4, mark making. In visual art, the term mark making refers quite literally to the process of making marks, dots, lines, shapes, patterns on a given surface using any tool or material of choice. As Google AI nicely summarizes, it can be a deliberate technique to build an image, or a more expressive gestural act to convey emotion and energy, with the marks often acting as a record of the artist's hand and feeling. You know, full disclosure, I actually compiled this list of reasons for starting a YouTube channel about a year ago. And what I wrote back then for this one is, quote, I'm healing invisibility, end quote. In other words, I intended to dismantle my lifelong habit of hiding and just let people see me. But that was before I went rogue, which is to say, before I gave myself permission to do this thing exactly the way I want to do it, and focus on the audio rather than the visual part of this medium. So, in case you were wondering, yeah, this will be a faceless channel. Mostly. Because I have no interest whatsoever in being another talking head on the internet. especially considering how many of them these days are AI generated. Ugh. But also because I refuse to add on to the already excessive amount of time that you and I spend staring at a screen. Less screen time, more sunshine, people. Okay, obviously, I will throw up a little amuse-bouche to tickle your retinas. But ultimately, I'd rather give your overworked eyes a break and bathe you in a beautiful soundscape.
But what about overcoming your fear of being seen?
Well, how we show up in the world is about more than just appearances, right? And I don't know about you, but I want to go beyond skin deep, into the marrow. I want substance. I want heart, soul, essence. Too often have I lost sight of those precious things within myself. Tangled up in the tedious practicalities and endless distractions of modern life, I ended up with a sort of spiritual myopia, unable to see my own story, which is another kind of invisibility. And pretty ironic considering the countless kilowatt hours I've spent squirreling away my experiences in journal after journal after journal. Pardon me, miss, but are these the nuts you've been looking for? Oh, look, here's that time when another friend of mine, let's call her Ava, genuinely trying to be helpful, said to me, "You could do the pretty girl thing." And here's the perfect response I found years later in the opening lines of a poem by Jewel Matheson. "We have come to be danced. Not the pretty dance, not the pretty pick me dance, but the claw our way back into the belly of the sacred, sensual animal dance." Ooh, so many bones buried in books, the heaviest ones fossilized in the riverbed of my memory. I say, let the record speak, or else speak off the record. Regardless, speak, spill, splatter, of, for, and by the heart, the core, le cœur, with the blood. Remember the parts worth saving. Speak, sing, scream in service to the parts we were too scared to show. Don't you know we are all candles and mirrors for each other? That your scribbles, your stories, your sonic blooms can have a meaningful impact? Aye, the chord is struck. And so, I have come to YouTube to continue dancing with the question, how will you imprint the art of your life on the fabric of humanity? Maybe it's a matter of legacy, or maybe just not wasting another minute wondering what if. Make a mark. Leave your mark. Trademarks, beauty marks, marking words, marking time. On your marks. Ready, set, go! Number 5, muscles. Over the past several years, between adulting and riding the waves of chronic illness, my creativity turned into a tumbleweed. Except instead of dispersing fertile seeds as nature intended, it just quietly rolled away. Insert sad tumbleweed noises. Needless to say, that has not been great for my mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So it occurred to me that cultivating a YouTube channel could be a sort of HIIT workout for those flabby, unhappy, creative muscles. And 1, 2, 3, 4, pick a topic, and plan, and record, and edit, and post, and share. Ay, 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 ay. Desire and intention are wonderful, but there is no movement, no dancing, and no flight without strong, supple muscles. And mind your purpose, because this world will pull you in all the wrong directions if you let it. The business barons have spoon-fed us their alphabet soup, A, B, C. For the sellers, always be closing. And for the buyers, always be consuming. But it's poison, I tell you, poison! Stop slurping up their slop. Flip the script and be your own boss. The new mandate is always be creating. Always be connecting. That's the work I want to do. That's how I want to use my energy. That is the object of this exercise. What's your fitness routine? Number 6, mastering multiplicity. In a cinematic rendition, after a few wide-angle shots of the mountainous Mediterranean landscape, the camera would close in and pan slowly to the most famous maxim inscribed at the ancient temple of Apollo at Delphi. Only, of course, it would be in Greek, so there would also appear a caption at the bottom of the screen in English, perhaps all caps, in the font of Palatino, and it would say, "Know thyself." I love the confidence that comes from not only growing your competence, but knowing with keen precision the contours of your capacity and capabilities. In a job interview, you'd have no problem answering that annoying question about strengths and weaknesses. But having that kind of clarity in your life overall, that's golden. Melting away pounds of self-doubt faster than you can say Ozempic. When you speak that truth, your voice doesn't shake. When you step up to the task, your feet don't falter. I imagine that degree of mastery does wonders for a person's nervous system. Now, am I looking to become some sort of pro YouTuber? Nah. I'm after creative healing experiences, not expertise. With that said, however, I do see the opportunity here to learn some new things and level up my skill set. The top 3 areas I want to work on are 1, speaking, storytelling, maybe even singing. 2, media editing. And 3, community building. This is where I would splice in a screenshot of Xena, warrior princess, saying her renowned catchphrase, "I have many skills." My inner Sag thrives on the adventure, the variation, the hodgepodge of it all. She's a tinkerer, a drifter, a shapeshifter. Shapeshifters will inherit the earth, you know. Yet no one encouraged me to embrace her until I found books like The Renaissance Soul by Margaret Lobenstein and Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher. And all those years I spent believing I simply had commitment issues. Well, maybe there was some of that too, but that's a story for another day. YouTube offers a way for me to engage the multifaceted, multi-interested, multi-talented person I once thought needed to be reined in. And as I flesh out and set roots into this space, I look forward to the emergence of many wildly wonderful fruits. like music and live streams and maybe even some crafty working hands videos. And now this would be a good spot for that quote from Walt Whitman's seminal poem, Song of Myself, where he says, "Do I contradict myself? Very well, then I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes." Or, as I like to say, why try to fit in when you can be infinite? Feel free to quote me on that, darling. Number 7. Mary, Mary.
All work and no play makes Kitty a dull gal.
In that more mundane yet absolutely essential vein, this girl wants to have some fun. Which is why I don't care to follow any of the typical YouTube conventions. I'm posting at my own leisurely pace, paying little to no mind to analytics or the almighty algorithm, and I'm not even thinking about monetization. Creation, connection, period. And while I will be serving up some deep dishes, this whole project will not be sustainable without a heavy helping of fluff. Not like that supermarket jet-puffed marshmallow garbage. Nah, there's no nutrition in there. But maybe more like the Tate's Bake Shop Ginger Zinger cookies. Or a Sensible Edibles raspberry hazelnut bar. Affirmation. I allow those pieces of myself that have gone stale or turned into stone to sweeten, to soften, to regain their succulence. Listen, the season calls to me by name. Joyeux Noël, which is French for both Merry Christmas and Joyous Noël. Ah, yes. Joy. Joy is not a luxury. Break out, shake it up, and make a joyful noise. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Number 8. Media. Social. Woo! She is a long, meandering river. Are you still with me? If so, congratulations. You do not have TikTok brain. MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Over the past 20 years, I've waded through my fair share of social media cesspools. Cesspools? Damn, maybe that's a bit harsh. But hey, that's what came to mind. And although a lot of beautiful connections and collaborations do happen in these spaces, along with a lot of much-needed independent, investigative, and citizen journalism, the amount of toxic waste floating all around can be overwhelming and disheartening. Which is why I barely bother with any of them anymore, except for YouTube. In my opinion, it's the best social media platform for people who want to contribute on a more than merely frivolous level. Whether your aim is to inform, instruct, persuade, or entertain, on YouTube, chances are you're going to share with more attention to detail and really care about the value you're offering, especially as your audience grows. That's just sort of the culture here, which I appreciate and can actually feel good about participating in. And so, note to all of us, be careful not to dwell in any place that does violence to your soul. On the other hand, anywhere you find space and sustenance, make it a home and take excellent care of each other. P.S. I've just used the word care 3 times in this section about social media. That's significant, don't you think? Number 9, messenger. Earth angels, earth angels. The people in our lives who make us feel seen and heard, who let us know in no uncertain terms that we matter, that we belong here, who hold us dear, lift us up, cheer us on, who put wind in our sails and breathe life into our dreams, who help us find our way when we've lost the ability or will to see a path forward. Oftentimes, we know them personally. Other times, they're strangers just passing through at exactly the right moment. And sometimes, they're in a completely different orbit, somehow reaching out across space and time without even knowing it, to strike a chord deep within us where there was a hungering silence, to kindle a hearth fire after a too long and brutal winter, or to simply say in the middle of the darkest night, you are not alone. Their presence, their existence is priceless. Like the yogic concept of nadis throughout the body, they are channels of empathy, compassion, and love, keeping the fabric of humanity from unraveling. Words can barely express how grateful I am for my earth angels. Their gifts to me have changed and probably saved my life countless times. And yet, the thing that's even better than receiving all of that yummy goodness is being able to give that to someone else. I mean that, straight up, no cliches. More often than not, the most treasured interactions I've ever had with people were instances when my being there, listening deeply, encouraging, offering alternative perspectives, asking pivotal questions, or else just reflecting back their own brilliance, helped them land in a lighter, brighter, more hopeful and capable place. Is it because I myself am a pain avoider and thus feel compelled to help other people escape theirs? Or is it because seeing another person hurting hurts me, and so relieving even an ounce of their suffering helps us both feel better? Or is there some invisible electrochemical web of human trauma that, once plucked in a certain spot, activates my spidey senses and thrusts me into action? Look, I don't know the mechanics of it, but what I do know is that we all need each other, showing up and sharing our gifts in order to survive and thrive in this world. Most of that magic happens offline. It has to. But as long as such a massive amount of our communication transpires online, why not inject as much medicine as we can here too? And so with this YouTube channel, as I try to do with my blogs and occasionally get to do in my friendships, I want to give people access to more possibilities in their own creative and healing journeys. As a candle, as a mirror, as a word weaver, a dancer, a crafter, a black girl magic wielder, a seeker, dreamer, lover, lighthouse, messenger of